Calling all foodies, there is some pure Michigan pride in knowing that Detroit's history and namesake are being served to millions around the globe in the form of a square-shaped pizza. Detroit is known for many things. Some of the big ones are automotive, Motown music, techno, and pizza. The history and origins of the Detroit-style pizza is a subject of debate. I'm allowed one pizza pun here. For some, dating back over 70 years. While some outside of Michigan may have little interest in this aspect, it's important to Michiganders, and we take pride in things we're known for. Today, we get to enjoy iconic Detroit-style pizza from Buddy's, Louie's, Cloverleaf, Shields, and Jets, to name a few. All with slight variations and different techniques when it comes to creating their Detroit-style pizzas. Either way, the result is usually the same. A delicious square-shaped pizza, lots of cheese, zesty sauce on top, crunchy, buttery crust, and corner slices. 2 years ago, Buddy's Pizza founded National Detroit-Style Pizza Day to celebrate its 75th anniversary, and all that is Detroit-style pizza and the recognition it yielded our state. On June 23rd, Detroit-style pizzerias across the nation are called upon to honor the history, style, and roots of where the style began. With such an important upcoming day for Detroiters and pizza enthusiasts everywhere, I knew I had to find a way to share the story behind Buddy's Pizza and Detroit-style pizza. Coincidentally, I was in luck. Metro Detroit reporter and author Karen Dybus just so happened to write a new book exploring the history and humble beginnings of our namesake pizza. I grabbed my gear and was off on another pizza adventure. I arrived at the original Buddy's at 6 Mile and Conant in Detroit on Tuesday around noon. I was there to meet up with Karen and Buddy's Chief Brand Officer Wes Pakula to discuss and learn more about the history of Buddy's and the Detroit-style pizza. Wes has been with Buddy's for 48 years, so if anyone can talk to the evolution of Buddy's over the last couple of decades, it's him. He walked me through his tenure with the restaurant and the pride that he and the company feel witnessing the global hype around our Motor City Square pizzas, with all roads leading back to Buddy's Pizza.
Sure. So I started in 1975. My mom had worked here in the early 70s, like 71, 72, and they were hiring for busboys and dishwashers, and we lived probably a mile from here. So my friend and I had applied here and got hired. He got hired first, and I got hired second. I think he took a vacation, so that's why they called me. So he actually was older, so he got hired. And I started here when Buddy's was bigger than life. We grew up in the neighborhood, so we had occasionally come here with our basketball team and whatnot, so I was very familiar with it. And we had other cousins working here in the early 70s here. And so, yeah, and I've been here 48 years now. And when the Jacobs family bought it in 1970, I kind of grew with them when they opened stores. So right now we have 22 restaurants, working on 23.
So you have a long history and tenure with Buddy's Pizza. What has the journey been like for you as you've seen it grow and change over the years and expand across the state of Michigan?
Basically, what we were trying to do at the time when I started here and with the Jacobs family was very slow growth, very meticulous, very concerned about the product, our ability to reproduce it out of 6 Mile, because that was a tall order. Everybody looked at 6 Mile as the standard. Trying to open up another location was challenging because customers were originally resistant to it because it's not like the original. So we had to overcome a lot of that. So obviously we had to develop training systems, methodology to make sure that we can execute the pizzas. And again, it was exciting to see the pizza and that it got its own style, right? Unlike other groups around the country, whether Chicago or California, New York, they had a style already, but Detroit, everybody seemed to be jumping over it. And so when the style became more prevalent and the term was out there, and then other people came in and were opening up places around the country and even in Michigan, particularly like Jets that opened up stores, and then they started referring to their pizza Detroit style. It was satisfying knowing that, you know, it began at this location in 1946. So from my perspective, after being somewhere for 48 years and the only job you ever had, it is rewarding to see not only the pizza, but the city of Detroit getting recognition along the way because I'm a Detroiter at heart, lived in Detroit for many years, and I love Detroit.
I followed up with Karen, getting the full breakdown on her pizza research and findings with the Detroit style's origin, the stories of the infamous trailblazing pizza makers and their families, and the historical connection to its namesake.
I'm very interested in telling Detroit stories. I especially love any kind of local family lore and history. And then when you can combine that to a long-standing business, that's my sweet spot. I was a business reporter for many years, and I love being able to document both how they started, but how they developed and grew in that time that they've existed. And so most of the pizza companies in Detroit that are the most beloved, like Buddy's, really have a long-rooted history that we can date back to the early 20s. So to be able to document it in some way that those records are combined in a book, to be able to honor the families that worked that hard and gave up all their hours to create this amazing food product for us that we still love today. Plus, with the emergence of Detroit style pizza as a phenomenon internationally at this point, a pizza place that serves Detroit style just opened in Dubai, like in the last few months. So these locations are everywhere, and when that name Detroit is associated with it, I want to make sure with cement that Detroit is always attached to this pizza style and that credit is given where credit is due.
So tying in all of those things, Detroit, Detroit style, Buddy's Pizza, and the story of Detroit itself, of all of that, what is so unique about Buddy's? And sort of, Wes talked a little bit about, just the history of it and sort of how it's always been this comeback city, and it's had things like Buddy's, Better Made, and just certain Michigan things that all kind of weave into it.
That's what I liked about how Buddy started, is it's very much tied into the immigrant history of Detroit. So you have a family that is both Sicilian and San Marino, which is a small, like, kind of country within a country of Italy. So like Hamtramck is a city inside Detroit, so is San Marino. And so those two families married to create Buddy's. So the Sicilian side is Anna Janko, Anna Pasquale. I'm going to terribly massacre her last name. That family marries into Gus Guerra's family, and they are the ones that open Buddy's as a restaurant. So they are the ones that bring the pizza to Buddy's and really cement it as a institution of both foodie, but also kind of that cultural history of Detroit. It's what makes this place so unique is the mosaic of all the international cultures and food histories that come together so easily in this place. And so it's been so much fun to be able to understand this is something that is to be honored. We have an automotive history. We have an amazing musical history. But we also have, I think, an incredibly deep food culture that is, more than a century, if not earlier, to Detroit. And that influences not only what we eat today, but the people that we are and what we do when we go outside Detroit and talk about it. We can be very proud that a company started by, in the case of Buddy's, some immigrant food lovers, continues all the way to today. And is really celebrated all over the world.
What does it mean for Detroit to have sort of something like that, to be, like you said, to just be kind of proud of and to have?
That's what I enjoy about being able to explain the story of how the pizza got started. It's deeply rooted in Detroit culture. So you have automotive history tied in. Gus Guerra worked for Ford before he came to start Buddy's and develop it into a restaurant that served pizza. You have all these individuals through the history of Buddy's. So the two Jimmys, Jimmy Valenti and Jimmy Bonacorsi, that owned it from approximately 1953 to 1970, also worked in the automotive factories. So you have these like rich tie-ins that make this food uniquely Detroit-ish in that the pans are said to originate from automotive world. Now they're more of a food grade product. They don't necessarily get made for automotive. They get made to use directly in pizza. But it has that deep, deep history that ties it to Detroit. And then you add in that it's the two families, San Marino and Sicily. That's why that pizza style is so different and unique than you'll find in New York, New Haven, Chicago. It's because it's made here. So you always have to have that deep connection to Detroit to respect the way it was made, who made it, and why it should always be connected to the city, so that when people eat it and get excited and want to have it again and again, or open a restaurant or a food truck with that food, that they properly honor and tie back to Detroit. There's a real chance for us, if we continue to honor it by documenting where it came from and the people it came from, that will rank for all time with the other big pizza cities. And I always want to make sure, and that was why it was worth the time and the effort to write the book, that happens, that Detroit is first and foremost in that name.
Regardless of which chain ultimately makes your favorite Detroit-style pizza, we can all agree that having this style to call our own is something worth being immensely proud of. The Detroit-style pizza has a rich history interwoven with the city and its culture, and is shared and enjoyed worldwide. So whether you're sitting down at Buddy's or Cloverleaf, picking up an order from Jets, or stopping into Louie's, enjoy that next slice with extra pride. But above all else, thank Gus Guerrera and Buddy's Pizza for our beloved square-shaped pizzas that the world now gets to enjoy.